Yeah, we back with another one. Blue is our city, Manchester City fan channel. As you can see, I'm back and getting the videos going. So I definitely want to say part of my delay and part of my kind of going away. But as you can see, I'm back on my grind time. But today, I want to talk about, a player that, I'm trying to think about, should we keep or should we sell as we continue the series? We're going to play keep or sell Manchester City edition. And this should be part 7, man. We're almost closing up the 8-part series, man. And today, who we're going to be talking about? None other than this guy, Mr. Riyad Marhez. And I know that this is going to trigger a few people. And it's not meant to trigger people, but I also know I am no fool to the game, man. Riyad Marhez and the Marhez squad is definitely deep, whether it be in Algeria, whether it be in France, no matter where it is. I know that the Marhez squad is deep. So this is not meant to trigger you. But as Manchester City look to kind of bolster their new squad, and as we look to hopefully refresh the squad in some kind of way, we'll just kind of give us some insights into who should we sell or who should we keep. So before I get going, I always want to shout out the people, man, the people that keep this channel going. So I always say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I can see the community growing as we continue to build. And that's what it's really all about, is connecting football fans with other Manchester City fans that are not, necessarily in England. But we got City fans over here in the States, baby. So let's connect our people, whether we going from one part across the ocean, no matter where it is. But that's what this community is all about. And hopefully we're going to be raising other children to come up and be Manchester City fans for generations and eons to go. So that's all this channel is about. But the one thing I want to say, as always, thank you for all the love and support. And if you guys are digging the content, feel free to hit the like button, share the video. But if you're new to the channel, you like what you see, consider subscribing, man, and join the family. So that's what it's really all about. But we about to get going on this, Manchester City, should we keep or should we sell Riyad Marhez? So I'm going to present some facts based on the research that I've done. And then I want to hear from you guys, what you guys think. I'm going to render my verdict, but we also going to be looking at the facts before we jump into, anything that, some people may feel triggered, or some people may feel like, honestly, you made some good points here. Let me think about that. So without further ado, let's kind of get going on this. So like I mentioned, we already talking about keep or sell Mr. Riyad Marhez. And what really brings about this is that there's been some speculation about maybe him having a possible move. I know that we've heard this kind of talk, if you will, in the past before, because I can remember last year, I think it was last year or the year before, where there was some talk about him possibly going to PSG, due to lack of playing time, or due to the fact that, remember, we were supposed to get hit with the Champions League ban, and Riyad Marhez might have felt like, I can't be a part of that, playboy. I'm trying to, do my thing on the Champions League stage. So there's definitely some talk in the past about him possibly with a Manchester City exit, but now those talks have kind of, surfaced again. We're going to get into whether we think that they're true or false, because you can't really ever believe these rumors, man. So without further ado, let's get going on this. So when I talk about, one Mr. Riyad Marhez, man, it's one thing I would definitely want to point out before I really, start sharing the screen, is that one thing we know about Riyad Marhez, you got to say it, his Manchester City career, the man has been patient. Because you remember when we first got Riyad Marhez, he wasn't even playing the whole time. I remember Guardiola kind of coming out saying he felt bad for not really playing him, because at one point, remember, we had, Raheem Sterling on one side, and my God, to the death, I don't care what nobody say, Leroy's my guy, you know what I mean? So we were lining up with those two wingers, and it was those two wingers getting it done for us, you know what I mean? So when he started his Manchester City career, the man had to be patient, because he wasn't really getting in the squad that much. So let me kind of go over here and share my screen, so that way we can present some facts. So bear with me. And sometimes I will definitely say this, is that sometimes I definitely notice that the pixel quality is a little bit off, because I have the basic version of StreamYard, so I got to definitely step my game up there. But one thing I definitely know is that, I definitely will be doing that. So just be patient with me. So if you see in the pixelation, or you see it like the 720p, just know your boy will be upgrading to 1080p here. But it's just at the beginning. So what do I want to talk about? I definitely want to talk about where these rumors are starting to come from. So as you can see, I'm currently on Talk Sports website. I definitely know that they have a YouTube channel, but I'm not going to say that I'm really extra familiar with them. But as soon as you Google this, you'll find some of this information out. So as you can see, Riyad Marhez, along with Raheem Sterling, have been linked with possible moves away from Manchester City to bring in players like Jack Grealish as well as Harry Kane, after the Champions League final. So that talk has been about there. But do I just stop there? No, I don't. So I also look at the Sun. I know some people feel like the Sun is not really that accurate of a website, but I'm just pointing the information out to you guys. Whether it's real or not, I don't really get into that, but it's just a little, talking points, if you will. So as you can see right here, it's saying Arsenal's interested in Riyad Mahrez transfer and is, Manchester City willing to sell him along with Raheem Sterling. So, I don't really know if Arsenal really got the bag to pull this off, But I think about Arsenal, I think about a cheap squad. That's not really to put down any Arsenal fans. Trust me, I'm not about that. I definitely haven't been inspired by people like AFTV and all, like my man Curtis. I love Curtis's videos, you know what I mean? So I definitely have been inspired by them. But, when I think about Arsenal, as an American, I know that the Crunkies own the Denver Nuggets and they don't really spend any money there. Arsenal have been this great club for a long time, but over the last few seasons, you can see that they're not really splurging or, even Robbie and them be asking, yo, where's the paper? Where's the money? Let's go ahead and make these signings. So, I'm not too sure that they would definitely be able to pull it off. But let's kind of go in this bag and look at a little bit more about Mr. One Riyad Mahrez. So as you can see, Riyad Mahrez, he's in Algeria, but I think he was actually born in France, as you can see. But I know he's definitely Algeria. He reps Algeria as far as the squad that he plays for. And as you can see, the man's only 30 years old from looking at this website. In all these videos, I really look at this website because I really love it. And the one thing I'm definitely interested in is you can see they have him listed as mainly a right winger, but then you see that they have left winger here. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But the man's only 30 years old, and he definitely is a little versatile. I would like to see a little bit more versatility from him, but that's just my preference. So let's kind of go in that bag a little bit further, right? The one thing I definitely want to point out is I want to always start on this side. So when we look at this, and that's one thing that this website does really well, is that look at the matches that he's played as a right winger. And we're specifically looking at Manchester City. We're not really taking into account what he's done for Leicester. But if you look at this, 128 games for Manchester City as a right winger. He has 39 goals with 35 assists. And before I keep going, I always want to say this too. I definitely apologize that I mentioned this earlier, but I noticed sometimes when I share the video and then I stop sharing, the pixelation kind of comes out a little bit bad. So I just want to apologize in advance for that. But you can see that he's definitely done his thing mainly as a right winger for Manchester City. He also has 4 starts as right midfield. That's probably where we're playing some 4-4-2 setup. And then also as an attacking midfielder, I can't remember that. A center forward, can't really remember that either. But as a left winger, and this is where I want to see a little bit more versatility from him, is that you can highlight above this website, you can see 1 start there. And I remember there was 1 time he played over there, and it wasn't even for the whole game. But I don't understand. This is one thing that drives me crazy. This is not necessarily a Riyad Marhez thing, but this is maybe a Guardiola thing, because I don't understand why this man never plays on the left side. You guys remember the golden days. I always call them the golden days of the Centurion season. But Leroy and Raheem, they used to be switching all the time, man. I don't see why we don't do that nowadays, but it is what it is. But I remember him definitely playing that side 1 time, and I would love to see him play that side a little bit more, but it is what it is. But as you can see from this graphic, is that he mainly does his damage, from the right wing spot. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about his goals and stuff and his contributions for Manchester City. But as you can look at in the Premier League, you see right here from the 18-19 season. It's so funny we're talking about him in the 18-19 season. I'm going to touch upon that a little bit later. But what he did in the Premier League, you're talking about 27 appearances. All of them are definitely not starts. But you're talking about 7 goals, 4 assists, which is pretty all right, you know what I mean? It's all right, but keep in mind, Manchester City is a deep squad. So, a lot of players are necessarily not always going to play because we like to do a little bit of rotation. But as far as his Manchester City career, I think he really exploded last year in the in the 1920 season, because as you can look here when we talk about the Premier League specifically, you can see that the man had 33 appearances for Manchester City, 11 goals and 11 assists. Now that's productivity, because when you talk about Manchester City, you really talking about our wingers are not really going to hit. I know Sterling's hit some good numbers before, but you're never going to really see 30 goals, 10 assists or something like that. We're always going to probably average around 15 and 10 as far as our wingers. But I know Raheem Sterling has hit that height before, but it's just not going to be always, it's not going to be common, if you will. Then he also had another 27 starts in this particular campaign, which Riyad Marhez was very good this particular year, that the season that we just came off of. But you can see he had 9 goals and 6 assists. And really what's probably most famous for Riyad Marhez for most Manchester City fans is really the work he did in the Champions League this year. What I'm really talking about, I'm talking about those legs versus PSG, especially in that second leg. He was getting busy. So that's really what it is for him, and then let me kind of move over to the next screen here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this specific season. So the season that we just came off of, what you're looking at now, we're talking about all competitions now, not just mainly focused on the Premier League, but 48 appearances, 14 goals, and 9 assists. So that's definitely productivity, if you will. He mainly played as a right winger. You see no left wing in this particular year, but he was kind of getting busy. But the reason why I want to point this out is that a lot of people would think that, Riyad Mahrez's best year was this particular year. But no, it actually wasn't. It was last year when he started doing his damage. And that's just my personal opinion, but you guys out there let me know. So that's just the way I feel about Mr. Riyad Marhez. So when you look at the club, and you can see that the numbers are definitely the same. I like to look at the Champions League goals in this particular scenario. So when you look at the Champions League for Manchester City specifically, we're talking about 25 appearances, 6 goals, 10 assists, 1 yellow card, which is all right. It's not the best, but given the fact that he didn't play all the times when he first got to Manchester City, it makes sense, right? So that's what I really want to talk about there. And there's one moment to me where I think that, Riyad Mahrez, as much as I love certain things about him, the one thing I think most Manchester City fans are going to remember him about is that game versus Liverpool. You guys know what I'm talking about. Remember the game at Anfield in the 18-19 season? And it was like a scruffy game. We're talking about, I think it was a 0-0 draw. And I think most Manchester City fans will remember this. 0-0 draw. He steps up to take the penalty, but I think there was some confusion at the time. Help me out if I'm wrong, but I remember there being some confusion at the time because Gabriel Jesus was on the pitch, and Gabriel Jesus is like, yo, I'm about to take this penalty. Riyad Marhez takes the penalty and scuffs it, and, it's just, I think it went way over the ball, but, I think most Manchester City fans will definitely remember that as far as his Manchester City career, but I think he definitely made up for that a little bit this year, especially the way he played against PSG. So that's just my opinion on the matter. Now, what's going to go into the next topic is, all right, so as you can see that maybe there's some interest from other clubs who might be interested in Riyad Mahrez, whether that be Arsenal or some other clubs out there. We never really know, but we need to assess what is his market value. Hypothetically, if we were to sell him, how much money could he possibly bring into this club? Or is he worth keeping as far as the numbers are concerned? So let me go and kind of get into that. So bear with me. And I hate that I have to kind of go back, pardon me real quick, because you guys hear that noise right there. But, it happens, man. It really happens, man. When you really look at, Riyad Mahrez is like, yo, who's going to step up and pay the money? But then also, is it worth keeping? So we're going to have to do that. Pardon me when I have to share the screen a little bit. So got to jump back into that. I was just going to say, I hate when I have to change the ticker, then have to stop sharing my screen. I got to learn how to get better. But I'm an amateur. I've only been doing this a few months. So just give me a little bit of credit, but I'm going to work it out. So let's get back into the screen sharing bag, if you will. So let's go over here and let's go assess the numbers, if you will. So I'm not going to really talk about his injury history because Riyad Marhez, that's one thing I'm going to talk about in the pros and cons section. The man doesn't get injured. So as you can see, from his Leicester City career, he was just doing his thing. Keep in mind, he was a Premier League winner at Leicester. So that's really kind of what brought him up. And then, as you can see, his value started to kind of climb up there a little bit at the age of 27. But in my opinion, I definitely want to talk about this because I really believe that this was a player that Pep Guardiola was scouting for a minute, because we had been talking about Riyad Mahrez but didn't get him. Remember when we tried to sign Alexis Sanchez at the time? We didn't get him due to that whole United thing, biting our steez or whatever. But I thought that Pep Guardiola definitely wanted him a little bit earlier than we actually ended up getting him. But one thing you can see is that when he jumped up to Manchester City, you watch these numbers. These numbers are very interesting to me, being that he's at age 27 and we're talking about August 13th, 2018. Look how stagnant that is. Now, that is basically flat surface. So you want to start from, let's say we start right here at August 13th, and then we make all the way over here to December 19th. That number just stayed absolutely the same. So then the number comes down a little bit, and it just tends to go down a little bit due to a multitude of different reasons. It could be his age, things of that nature, but we're going to assess that a little bit further. Now, I didn't do it this time, but normally the way I started is I always want to talk about how we came and got Riyad Marhez and how much we paid for him. So you're talking about a player from Leicester City here who already won the Premier League with Leicester City, but as you can see right here on screen, around July 2018, Manchester City definitely confirmed Riyad Mahrez on a 5-year contract. We paid about £60 million for Riyad Mahrez, which is the most expensive African player ever at the time. But I thought that, man, at the time, I was like, yo, I like Riyad Mahrez, but damn, son, we spent mad money on him. But that was just my opinion of the matter. You know what I mean? But I think that he's now proven to be worth it a little bit. So you definitely have that at 60 million. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is look at his contract situation. So as I look at here, we got him for this upcoming season, and then we got him to the end of the 23 season. So he'll be 31. He's not making a ton of money, but he has come out and said that he would like to finish his career at Manchester City. I don't know if the club will have him for that, but we're going to assess the situation and render our verdict. So I had to point that out. The other thing I want to point out in the transfer is look at this number. How we go from $66 million, not pounds, as I always say in these videos, not euros, but we talking about 42 million US. And I'm saying to myself, this is a player with absolutely no injuries. I can't remember the last time that this guy was hurt. But you know what I mean? We looking at 46.2 million. I'm like saying you gotta do a little bit better than that. But that's just myself and not me assessing the situation. So that's just what it is, presenting those facts. Now I want to move on to the pros and cons section of this video, man. So the one thing I definitely want to talk about when it comes to pros with Riyad Mahrez, you hear a lot of people talking about him being world class, and I think that that's a little bit of a stretch. When you hear people talking on shows about world class and all this other stuff, I think that there's only a select few players who could be world class. If I had to say a football team throughout all of the different leagues of world class, I think that there should be like a world-class 11. There can't be a world-class 50 players, otherwise who's really world-class? You know what I mean? But the one thing I always say, and I say all of that to say this, is that when it comes to certain things, Riyad Mahrez is class, absolute mint when it comes to certain things. And I'm talking about maybe top 1, top 2. And what is that going to be? His first touch. This man's first touch, I never seen a first touch as good as him. When it comes down, when he touches that ball can be kicked 60 yards out. It can be hit on the line. That man's touch is first class, world class, in my personal opinion. The other thing I think that he's really done well, especially when you watch Riyad Mahrez from the time that not only when he was at Leicester, but when we first got him, he's very much a left-footed player, but this is something I definitely want to give credit to Riyad Marhez on, is that man has worked on his right foot. Feel me, people. If you go back and you watch a lot of these games, this man has improved his right foot so much to where I think, we got to shout him out for that, because it's really, kudos to him for putting in that work, because I've seen times where, let's go back when we first got him, everything was left foot. But now you see him, driving in the box with the left foot, then bring it down on the right, may even play a cross with the right, and may even shoot with his right. So, props out to Riyad Mahrez, because the man definitely put in the work. And those are my two pros about Riyad Mahrez. The other slight pro I want to say is that I think that he is very versatile of a player. Like when we looked at the Champions League specifically in times this season, to where the man would get the ball on the right side, be able to cut inside, and then be able to link the play up with other people. To where I like to see a little bit more of that from him, but I know it's in his bag, so I have to give him credit for that as being a pro. Now, let me kind of go on to the cons of Riyad Mahrez, in my opinion. One of my major cons with Riyad Marhez, and this is just the way I see it, yo. Don't you know what I mean? Like, you can disagree with me, but let me just give you the way I feel. The one thing I think about Riyad Marhez is he constantly drives me crazy when he slows down the play. When he gets the ball on the right hand side, I like to see him just go at the defense full speed, full stretch. But there are so many times to where he gets the ball and he start dancing, or he'll just slow up the play, and I'd be like, Riyad, come on, son, you're killing me, like, just be more direct. But I think he definitely has improved on that. But I have noticed that he slows down the play a lot when I watch Riyad Mahrez, and I don't know necessarily why that is, but I do think that there's a little reason or method to that madness. Is that, when I used to watch City, and when most of us watched City back in the Centurion season, Leroy and Raheem, I know I keep harping on that, but feel me on this, is that these guys with Gabriel Jesus, we used to have this counter attack that was deadly. There was one point to where Manchester City and Liverpool had the best counter attacks when Pep Guardiola first got here on into the Centurion season. But now our counter attacks, they just don't even flow that well, bro. We be looking slow sometimes, and I'm used to Leroy and Raheem just going straight crazy, running at people, and I don't really see a lot of that sometimes with Riyad Mahrez. So that's one of my cons with Riyad Mahrez. The other thing I'm thinking is a slight con is that he is not old yet, and we don't believe in ageism on this channel. So just understand we're not doing that. But he's already 30 years old, right? So he's 30 years old. Let's say we got him until the end of the 23 season. So let's say he's going to be 31, 32, possibly 32 at that particular time. I don't want to be in a situation where we're looking at, Robin and Ribéry, great players. But you remember when Pep started, like at the end of his Bayern career, it was kind of like, the team was just looking old and slow, and we don't necessarily want that. And then there's another part to it to where you kind of got to sell players at their highest point. And so I think that 46 needs to be up to 66. But off of the year that he just came off of, we should be able to command a little bit more money for him. So my con is that he's in his peak, but he probably only has about 3, maybe 4 more years of being at that top level. So that's just another one of my cons right there. Other than that, there's not really much cons with Riyad Mahrez because, like I said, the man can score goals. He has a wicked left foot where he bends where he bended it like Beckham almost, So he definitely got some talent there. But my only cons is that, really, like, I just don't like the fact that he be slowing up to play a little bit too much, for me. That's just really my big con there. So let me render my verdict, if you will. So in my personal opinion, this is what I think we should do. We already know we got winger options, right? You're looking at Southgate right now playing for England or coaching England. Excuse me. You see Phil Foden playing on the right-hand side with Raheem Sterling on the left. Guardiola never does that. You know what I'm saying? So, what I think about this is Manchester City have a plethora of wide options. We have Raheem Sterling. We got Phil Foden. We got Gabriel Jesus. Even though Gabriel Jesus is a striker, you see it for him playing on the wing a lot of times with Brazil, and Pepsi even played him on the wing at times. Then we also got the youngster, the up-and-coming one, which is Ferran Torres. And how are we going to be able to see Ferran Torres play a lot? Because when Pep plays him, he tends to play on him on the right-hand side, or he puts him up front. But really, his position, obviously, is probably going to be more on the right wing. So we got a plethora of different options here. And in my opinion, this is what I would do with Riyad Mahrez. I would sell Riyad Marhez. That's just me. And I will tell you why. The reason is that like I mentioned in my cons, is that he only has another 3 or 4 years to be at peak level. Yes, he can define. He can, say, forget all of those statistics as far as numbers and kind of redefine his own image and still be able to be fit, which we know he's fit, and he will be able to, progress into maybe 35, 36 on the way. But it's very rare that something like that can happen. So him coming off of the great season that he had, this may be the opportunistic time to be able to sell him, to be able to cash out. Like I mentioned, damn that 46 million US. I think that if we put Riyad Marhez with 2 more years left on his deal, let's say Arsenal want to come in, we could be like, yo, we need 60, we need 70. And that's pounds, yo. We got to make back what we spend. And I believe him having this great year would help us be able to do that. So I would sell Riyad Marhez because, like I mentioned, we have so many different options. But if the club decided to keep him, I ain't tripping either way because the man had a great year. And, I do think that he has talent in the squad and he definitely fits within the squad. But also, we need to see what we got a little bit with Ferran Torres, So that's my verdict. I believe we should sell him. But also, let me know what you guys are thinking out there. Should we keep or should we sell Riyad Marhez? You know what I mean? And, let me know what you guys are thinking out there. Leave them in the comments, man. So, next up, the final part of the series as we close off talking about Riyad Marhez in part 7. The last one is going to be part 8, which is going to be talking about João Cancelo. Should we sell? Should we keep João Cancelo, man? So this was about to be interesting. But until then, I definitely want to say, have a great week. It's Monday. It's the start of the week. Hopefully everybody's going to have a great work week or whatever, or, do whatever you guys do, a great week. But just thought I'd bring you guys some content. And if you like the video, please hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you absolutely anything. So I'll definitely see you guys on Tuesday. Peace. I'm out.